and irony, just like animal farm. Justice mean inequity, so who go say the truth? Who go say the truth? Christian can say silence, Islamic leaders silence, kings and queens silence, traditional leaders silence. So who go say the truth? We are them go so confused the call. Now by area why no better. We are them go so confused the call. One guy's out area why no better. Who go say the truth? Who go say the truth? Oh, he need it now, see what I see so. Now your friend on a nine come at them. Only papi obeka nice and yeah. So I want to bet you were too. Everybody was afraid. And when Tina to my cottage again nine. Once my boy dumping one and night. But who go tell the truth? Nanai or say me. Nanso bien person beka wansam because everybody is afraid. Anya safwe muayini. Akuku drofo nyina dalima. And who go say the truth? Obiaja konson so to grow Germansa to me biaka kobrafo. Efo anyina ye. Efo wanyina ye. Na so kutrata down na so bidia bako why no keke. Afene fo be manu mo piafo efo e. Ne cross on my mo. Anya safwe muayini. Akuku trofo nyina dalima. And who go say the truth? Abaya di bote chino. Yedi bi bebo nyande bi. Kachi sa udi oma upipi numa. Would your mind never shine my friend for some? But who go tell the truth? TUC, silence, even journalists, silence. So then who go say the truth? Right is right, wrong is wrong, no matter how you justify. You say you wanna get rid of corruption. Someone want to help you. Now the person become your target. Jobless no they mean senseless. Poverty no they mean useless. One day them go resist.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of MyView show. You are watching us live on today's Ghana News TV with me, Jerome, as your host. Once again, let me remind you that we are also live on Twitch via satellite, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, all on today's Ghana News TV. And you can also follow us on Twitter and TikTok, and also as well as podcasts on Anchor FM. Wherever you are, it's a joy once again to welcome you on this Monday to topical issues concerning our motherland, Ghana. Where I express my view, you have the opportunity to also express your view and that of our guest for this evening. And together, we try to shape in the destiny of our own country. Do not go away. This evening, we want to look again at the economy of the country and the governance style of the new patriotic party under His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo. Stay tuned and you have the opportunity to express your views. Once again, you are welcome.
think they happy for Africa. Dusty old men holding on to power, leading the people to where? The grave? Wicked criminal leaders. See them a come, them coming like an angel. But them a thief, them no say them a thief. Mr. President, you coming like a savior. But you a thief, you know say you a thief. Thief President, why a thieving so? Thief man, why a thief so? The people they must suffer, but you don't care so. Thief man, why a thief so? I see the people crying every day, yo. They want food, them can't find. I see the youth looking for a job, oh, everywhere, them can't find. Mr. President, him just barely food, oh. Him and the family, they no suffer, oh. Suffer, no poor man they suffer, oh. Suffer, rich man go they suffer. Suffer, no poor man they suffer, oh. Suffer, rich man they suffer. See them a come, they coming like an angel. But them a thief, them no say them a thief. Mr. President, you coming like a savior. But you a thief, you know say you a thief. Thief President, why a thieving so? Thief man, why a thief so? The people they must suffer, but you don't care so. Thief man, why a thief so? Mr. President, why you dey lie so? Before election, you tell me you be angel. When you sick, you run go a London. When we sick, we die for Kolebo. Mr. President, why you wicked so? Tell me how you dey sleep at night, oh. See them a come, they coming like an angel. But them a thief, them no say them a thief. Mr. President, you coming like a savior. But you a thief, you know say you a thief. Thief President, why a thieving so? Thief man, why a thief so? The people they must suffer, but you don't care so. Thief man, why a thief so? This is Mr. Traitor, Mr. President, Master of sleeping, Mr. Sleepy. This is Mr. Traitor, Mr. President, Master of sleeping, Mr. Sleepy. Yaram barayi fiafiwo alakpatowo na yeruya.
Alakpato. I hope I got it right. And this evening we have no other person but a very big brother of ours, Mr. Conrad Dumba, who happens to be the NDC Milton Keynes branch chairman. He will be on our show this evening to express his views. Wherever you are, remain committed and continue to share the link so that many more will join us, and then you have the opportunity to also express your view. Comrade Dumba, you are most welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, my brother. It's a pleasure to be hosted by a good brother.
Yeah, it's also my pleasure to have you. Just a few years ago, when we had His Excellency Professor Mills as president, and our city was depreciating at a rate that we could not contain somehow. The current president came out to call him all sorts of names, and even went ahead to say that if he had been the president at that time, he would have resigned. He called Professor Mills Professor Doolittle. Today, we are at a stage that I do not know what is happening to our country. The country has been downgraded, and we thought that was not enough. Just a few days ago, some banks again have been downgraded. We want to have your opinion on the economy of the country, and the governing style of Akufo-Addo. But on the whole, before we dive down, what is your opinion about the governing style of His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo vis-a-vis what we have seen before and where he came out with all sorts of names?
Thank you, my senior brother Jerome. I think the question, I would say, in terms of my opinion on his governance style, the first thing I would say about the question is that it is a bit tricky. It's like telling me, what is your opinion on the wealth of the poor man? The first point is that the man is poor. He has no wealth. And what we are now trying to do is to understand how the wealth is. It's the same way you will characterize Nana Addo. When you are looking at governance and you are looking for Nana Addo, the two are parallel lines. They don't meet. There is no governance in the man. What you see there is a cabal of self-seeking characters who are, if you like, leeching off the blood or leeching off the finances of the government. You know, these are people who basically almost banded themselves together at all costs, do whatever they have to do to get into power. And once they are in power, they are not interested in governing. That is a fact. What they are interested in is, in a vampire mode, sucking out the lifeblood of the country, which is the lifeblood of the economy. And that explains exactly where we are. Because to say that they have a governance structure suggests that they actually have a purpose, they have a reason for being in place. That is an altruistic reason, that is for the good of the country. The reality, the facts on the ground is that these guys, one, don't care, two, didn't come in to govern. They came in to enrich themselves. You know, one of the simplest examples of this is, I'm sure you'd have heard today that the Matt talked about Afro-Exim Bank, $750 million has landed. The interesting part of it is that that 750 million that was supposed to land in our accounts has not landed in our accounts. Only 730 million of the 750 million has landed in our accounts. The other 37 million.
Can you take the figures again? 750. So, yes.
750 million was supposed to land in our accounts. We woke up and we were looking for 750 million. It's like you are waiting for your pay. You've seen your pay slip. They told you that you will get 750 million euro. We are busy waiting for that 750 million euro. And then we see something else that we were not expecting there, which was 713 million. And we're asking ourselves, is this the wrong payment from somebody else, or is it the one we are expecting? Now, clearly, the other 37 million, which constitutes about 5%, if you round it up, about 5% of that 750 million, we don't know where it's gone. There is conjecture that this may have been the, if you like, transaction fees and other fees associated with it. But the government hasn't come out to confirm yet. But the reality is this, and this plays exactly into why I said these guys are not in to govern. You have a country that is broke by all definitions, by all standards. You have a country that needs a lifeline. It needs a $750 million lifeline to be able to survive. In the next fortnight, we'll probably need something close to 1.5 billion plus to service our debts. That 750 million is coming to Ghana, and the same vampires who should be governing have intercepted 37 million of it and diverted it somewhere. We're only getting 730 million. Can you see? It's almost like a man is on their sick bed. They have been given this life-saving medicine to be administered to them, and somebody decides to take a portion of that life-saving medicine while the man is on ICU. Our economy is in ICU. So you can see why I say this is not a bunch of people who came to govern the country, a bunch of self-seeking people who came to leech off the country like leeches, suck the blood out of our economy and the resources, so that when we even have emergency aid coming in, they still know how to divert it into their coffers. Well, we are waiting to see the explanation that will be offered for this 37 million. 5% of 750 million, we can't find it. So if you, in the context of that, if you were to rephrase your question, will you ask me about governance style?
I got it clear. I got it clear here. I got it clear here. That is even just one aspect of whatever they have planned to come and implement as you said, as a cabal. Now, where do we go from here? Now, is the 5% that has about 5% that has disappeared is just a matter of conjecture currently. I was going to push you down to another aspect where I think there is some level of conflict of interest in their whole system. You mentioned transaction advisors, and that is one thing that has been firing my head every day. If you look at the implementation of all the Eurobonds, I do not know whether it's a deliberate attempt to be in the Euro market or whatever it is, the bond market or whatever it is. But if you look at it, the Minister of Finance has an interest in DataBank. He has about 11% shares in DataBank. And DataBank serves as one of the transaction advisors. So every time that we go into the Eurobond market, an amount, they gain an amount, and then the country, in a way, loses an amount. Not only DataBank, you have a Star Brokerage owned by Charles Edu Boahene, Deputy Minister or the Minister of State at the Finance Ministry. They are also part of the transaction advisors. Last week, somebody told me that they are qualified, and that is why they are doing it. From a layman's point of view, does this issue of conflict of interest play any role here?
Thank you very much, my senior comrade Jerome. See, let me start from the qualified point. The question people say, oh, they were qualified. When did they become qualified? When the MPP was in opposition, Charles Edu Boahene was roaming around in South Africa, earning his bread, as we are all roaming around the diaspora doing. Where was that company? Even when the MPP was in power in 2017, that company had never offered a single pesewa, not even dollars, a single pesewa by way of transaction services to government. Somehow they became qualified as soon as the MPP came into power. And then companies were set up. We set it up, 95% owned by him, 5% by his younger brother. So you begin to think, you see, if you are qualified when you are not holding the reins of power. The man who becomes qualified to eat the TZ only because his mother is in the kitchen is not qualified. The question is, when your mom was not in the kitchen, where were your qualifications? Why do you wait till you're in power? Then you set up a company and suddenly we become aware you are qualified. Then you go from earning zero and doing zero business with government to now earning over 800 million. So you see that qualification itself is suspect.
It's suspect.
But to the central point, you talked about conflict of interest. You see, this goes back to the reason I said these guys did not come to govern. And so when you begin to ask, what is their governance style? What about their governance style? You're actually giving them credit for something they didn't plan for. The guys came to fleece this country. And the reality of it is that they are looking at every opportunity to take from the state, they will take. Where it doesn't exist, they will engineer something in there to take. Now, this whole Eurobond thing, and when you look at the history of Eurobonds in Sub-Saharan Africa, not just Sub-Saharan Africa, but among developing countries, this Eurobond pill thing has become a bitter pill for many economies that have always hobnobbed with it. There are a few instances of success, but these are countries that already had a smart way of managing Eurobonds. If we go back to 2008 when President Kufuor, 2007 to be specific, went for our first $750 million Eurobond, we thought it was free money. You would have seen how we were jubilating. And there are two reasons why. I'll probably stick to one. You see, up to the point when President Kufuor came on board and decided we should go for Eurobonds, we will always engage in what you call concessionary borrowing. concessionary borrowing from the Bretton Woods institutions, so the IMF and the World Bank. These are clubs that we are part of. We're a member of World Bank, we're a member of IMF. World Bank offers development assistance, and the IMF supports economies through, when they are in challenging times, balance of payment issues, making sure you are able to get your economy on the right keel. But these countries, because we are part of a club, it's like liken it to a credit union. When you are part of that credit union, you will get lending loans at very subsidized rates. In fact, those two institutions, they do not lend for you to their members for more than 2%. They don't. See, so they give it to you at very low rates. But the catch here is that because you are part of a club, there are rules about what you can do with that money so that you are able to pay it back and the other members of the club will get their money back. Because anytime we're going to IMF, it is not money from heaven. It is the members in the IMF who have all put in contributions, and then it's allocated, what we call special drawing rights, allocated to various countries based on their needs. So the rules are stringent. For example, if you are going for the IMF money will hit Bank of Ghana. You don't need any guru boys. You know, these transaction advisors and all these book runners. The book runners are basically guru boys. You know, when those days you go to DVLA to go and renew your license or renew your roadworthiness, and you have those guru boys in front. If you don't work through them, you won't get it. They are like estate agents. They will work between you and the people who will give you what you need. When the IMF comes in, because we're a member, I will not charge you any transaction fees. Now, in a certain sense, it was this Eurobond that has settled us where we are. It was good we discovered because we had oil, we now had assets against which private people, private investors were prepared to lend to us. But the danger there is when you start borrowing, you must start putting aside money to pay back that borrowing. When the NDC inherited the reins of power, we found that the MPP had taken 750 million, enjoyed it. We didn't know where it went. In fact, sold Ghana Telecom on top to be able to pay salaries before leaving. Because the economy was in ICU. You will remember the World Bank's president, even before President Mills was sworn in, somewhere around the 4th of January in 2009, he wrote to him telling your economy is in ICU. So straight away, our backs were against the wall. We rebuilt the country, and President Mahama generously put in place what you call a sinking fund, which is basically a small savings pot where you put away a little bit of money in time to clear off a debt. So Jerome, if I come to you today and I borrow 120 euro from you, and I need to pay it back in 12 months. So I quickly go and set up that small susu box. Every month I put in 10 euro. Every month I put in 10 euro. In 12 months, 10 times 12, 120 euro. So by the time that time comes, I'll give you 120 euro. I don't have to sweat. So even if that month I don't get any money paid, or I get a funeral, or I get some emergency, that savings is there to pay. The principle of a sinking fund, which President Mahama and Honorable Setagbe put in place. Of course, that is the sinking fund that was used to clear off President Kufuor's 750 million when the MPP took over the reins. One of it is that they cleared it all down. And after clearing it down, they now said this is a free source of money. Why do I say free source of money? Because I explained that when you have the Bretton Woods institutions, when they give you that money, they come with conditionalities. That explains why that guy was saying that they will not let IMF small boys come and tell them what to do. Because once you collect that money, there are things you can do and you can't do. I cannot tell you all the things you cannot do, but I can certainly tell you that you can't use IMF money for kinky parties. You can't use it for kinky parties. But you would see that with the Eurobond, it's like going to the market. You go to the bank, you can tell the bank whatever you want, they give you a loan, they won't follow you home to see what is happening. And that's exactly what we did. We went there, every year we go and borrow 3 billion, come and do kinky parties. 3 years, borrow kinky parties. Now, this is the trick. As I explained, with the Bretton Woods borrowing, there is no guru boy there. They will put the money direct to your account. It's like your employer. Your employer will not do any middleman between you and them. But you have these agencies, these so-called book runners. They are basically like your, what's the right word to use? Your employment agencies who would collect and pay you. Now, Oforiatta and his data bank, if you look at them, before 2017, they weren't really doing very well. In fact, sometime in mid-2014, the President Mohammed's government had to deliberately throw them a lifeline. The guys were as broke as check mines. They had to throw them a lifeline by giving them a few government projects here and there, a few transaction service jobs for them to be able to stay afloat, because they were employing Ghanaians, and that is the spirit of governance. As soon as these people came in, they started creating opportunities to milk the country. He made his own company, transaction service advisors. He made them book runners. Basically, he now knew that if I am earning 0.35% of every loan coming in, anytime I go and take a loan of 100 cedi, I have my 35 pesos or 0.35 pesos to me. If I scale it up, I get more. That is the story of how we now got to where we are. You talked about conflict of interest. In any decent economy, you don't even need to be in a decent economy. Anyone who calls themselves a professional, whatever it is you do, there's a certain principle that you cannot deal with yourself. It's almost like trying to shake your own hand. How do you shake your own hand? Because you need another person opposite you for the right hand to shake. But what these guys were doing was shaking their own hands, make the decision on how much they will charge the government for those services, and then make the decision as government on how much they will give these guys, and at the same time, how much they will borrow so these guys will make money. And so even when we are broke, their priority is not to go back to the IMF, where they won't make any money. Their priority is to keep chasing loans. You will recall that the week IMF was in town, Oforiatta was on the phone wanting to go to Jeddah. He wanted to go to Saudi Arabia for 6 billion. If he had got that 6 billion, you could have calculated how much he and his henchmen would have got. You are looking at tens of millions as usual. And so when you look at that conflict of interest, people ask, but what is it? If your mother is in the kitchen, can't you eat some?
Yes.
If your mother is in the kitchen and it's a private business and you eat some, we won't complain. If your mother is in the kitchen and you don't go and take the GS piece of meat and leave the landlord hungry, nobody will complain. But if your mother is in the kitchen and you are cutting the meat to the extent that you are cutting the jugular vein and slaughter the animal, why should we not complain? Here we are now. Because of the self-interest of Oforiatta's data bank and his people, they have borrowed this country into a ditch. Can you imagine that since independence? Look at Ghana. You can't, if you look at Ghana and you remove Kwame Nkrumah, there will be no Ghana. Temamoto Way is Kwame Nkrumah. Almost everything, a lot of the state bungalows that these people are selling to themselves are still going back to Kwame Nkrumah. Tema Harbor, Kwame Nkrumah. Tema Kwame Nkrumah. Akoso Mbodam, Kwame Nkrumah. Why do I start from there? Because he is the one who gave us the foundation for a country. You go all the way through the traitors who held the coup in 66, through Buzia and his henchmen, the PP tradition, the UP tradition, through Achampong, all the palace coups, Afrifa, Achampong, through the late President Rawlings, through Liman, through PNDC, to NDC Rawlings, Kufuor's MPP, then to Atta Mills, to President Mahama, all of them together, all of the wealth of Ghana was built with a debt of only 120 billion. In today's money, that's just about 12 billion. What happened? These people have come to take it from that 120. And as of last count, which is even the most current figure, you're looking at as of end of March, they were sitting at 393 billion. They had more than tripled it. They had more than tripled the amount of debt from 60 years from independence up to 2017. We are in their 6th year, so give them 5.5 years. They have tripled it. What monumental thing have they done with it? We don't know. Well, my village people say they built a dam for them. The problem with that dam is that whenever the rains fall and the kids want to play ball, they will complain that we used to play ball on this put dam. And the parents will say, don't worry. 3 months later, they'll be playing football on that same dam. Is that called a dam? The experts have said it. The Association of, what do you call it? Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana. They said all those dams can't hold water, do not hold water beyond 3 months. So rain falls today. And when the rain stops or it doesn't fall well again, within a few months, then the kids will be playing ball on it. Can you try playing ball on Abui Dam, built by the NDC? That means if we are giving these guys Bui Dam to build, I'm not sure how many months of water Bui Dam would have held. But there's nothing to show for it. And not only is there nothing to show for it, you see, when you borrow, you have to pay. And your interest will be proportionate to how much you pay. On average, when we were leaving power, when the NDC was leaving power in 2017, our interest bill was about 10 billion a year, 10.7 billion to be specific. But if you worked it out, the entire debt from independence to that point was 122 billion or 120 billion. 10% of that is about 12 billion. So give or take, if you assume that our interest payment was approximately 10%, you can see it was manageable. As of this year, the 2022 budget, initially they budgeted to spend about 39.8 billion, but we all knew it was not going to happen. They were going to overshoot it. My brother, as of mid-year, they had overshot it to almost 42 billion. Now you can see that they have more than quadrupled the amount of interest we were paying, from 10.8 billion a year to 2 billion a year. You are looking at an extra 32 billion. That extra 32 billion is money that have gone into hospitals, into schools, into social amenities and services. But where is it gone? Because somebody has borrowed. And now we don't know where the money is. We don't know what the money was used for, but we have to pay the debt. And where we are, we don't have money. So this crisis we are in now is caused by that. And the root cause is what? Conflict of interest and greed. People looking to themselves or not looking to govern the country. All the hell we are in now, you can trace it back to this. Let's follow the chain. Now think about it. If we used to only change 10 billion those days, let me even round it to 11 billion. In today's dollar, which let me keep it at 10, because you see, when we started the program, if you had asked me to quote dollar, I'll give you rate. As we are speaking now, if you check, it won't work. It will go higher.
It will go higher.
So these days, if you are dealing in dollars in Ghana, when you get a person on the phone, don't say, let me go and make a cup of tea and come, because by the time you come, the fundamentals have changed. So you strike it there and then. But if we use today's date, let's be charitable to them and say it's 10 cedis to the dollar. It means that at the time we left power, the interest we were paying to the debt holders was on average roughly about what? $1 billion. Take the amount they are paying today, 42 billion, divided by the same 10. Now you are going to pay $4.2 billion, an extra 3.2 billion, and for what? Now think about it this way. Anytime we have to pay interest, because when we go and borrow, we like quoting dollars, so $750 billion euro bond, because nobody wants to call the poor city's name, lest you invoke the curse of the city upon yourself. So we like quoting dollars. The way we like quoting dollars is the way we have to exchange our poor city back to dollars to pay them. So if you would come to think about it, if we used to only exchange 1 billion or 12 billion, that means we effectively used to only get 1 billion worth of dollars to pay our debt, right?
Yeah.
Now we are demanding 4 times that. So now we demand $4.2 billion to be able to pay our debt a year. So automatically the demand for dollars relative to the cedi has gone from 1 to 4. Now, in the simple principle of demand and supply, if you and I are hungry and producer is selling kose, and then you go there and producer says 1 kose is 1 cedi, I'm behind there, my tummy is rumbling. I say, make it 1 cedi 20, I can pay. You two will say, Charlie, I won't let this man chop the thing and let my intestine cry all night. You say 1 cedi 5. The thing now becomes like cha-cha. So the more you demand, the higher the price of what you demand. Right. So apart from the basic fundamentals in the US currency that are making it stable and strong, the fact that we are demanding more cedi in itself is making the dollar stronger relative to the cedi, which means the cedi is depreciated. And that explains why between January to date, experts say that the most conservative, lowest estimate is that the cedi has collapsed by up to 35% against the dollar. This is when you are talking the formal part. The informal part, you and I don't know. Like today, if they say, look on Google, what is the rate? You say it's 10 cedis to dollar. You go to Tama Station to go and exchange that dollar and see how much they'll give. In fact, don't go to Tama Station. Go to SGSSB or ADB ask them how much would they sell the dollar for you. Would they agree and sell the dollar for you at that price?
No.
So you see that because we have quadrupled our debt, now the city is under pressure because there is too much demand for dollars to settle our debts. So what happens? Each time you go demand, the dollar will go up and go up. Now, how does this hit you and I? Because the dollar keeps going up. Remember, we also love perfume rice.
Perfume rice.
Jasmine and Co. in Ghana. They say if you do local rice balls, nobody will eat it at the funeral grounds. So if you do that, it has to have new scent. Perfume rice, Texas Star, Chicago Star, all the stars from Vietnam. People wearing hat in paddy fields in Vietnam, sending rice to us. Even our own sugar, we collapsed Commander's sugar factory. That was under test runs so that we can import more sugar because we are sweet-tongued. Now, as we import, we pay in dollars. Remember, the debt, because we are chasing dollars to pay debt, the dollar is running up. Now, the importers are also chasing debt. Why won't Guta and Co complain? They're also chasing the same dollar to import their products. So government is now competing with these poor traders to get the rare dollar. So the price of the dollar goes up. Now, think about it. If a bag of Chicago Star was $10 in those days, when we left power, a dollar was about 4 cedis 72 pesos. So when they imported, they would have only paid 4 cedis 47 cedis for that $10 bag of rice. So if they add their profit to it and sell it at 50 cedis, they are good. Today, it's not 47 cedis for that $10 bag of rice. The bag of rice is still $10. It hasn't gone up. Vietnam hasn't increased their rice. It is still the $10. But our city has crept and collapsed such that for the same $10 bag that we used to buy at 47 cedis to import it, we have to get 470 cedis for that same amount.
The same amount.
Yes. So it used to be $10. We used to get 47 to get to it. Now we've gone from 4.7 to 10. So now we need 100 cedis to be able to buy the same bag of rice we used to buy for $47. 53 cedi increase. For what? Because government has been reckless, has overborrowed, and is now chasing dollars to pay debt when we are chasing dollars to buy food to eat. Now, when the price, the import price goes from 47 to 100, because the CD went from 4 CD 73 pesos to 10 CDs. Can you see that you have more than double the of a bag of rice? Yeah. When you do that, what is inflation? The rate at which the price is increasing. So you see the inflation that is galloping 32.7%. Professor Hanke will tell you that is a joke.
Professor Hanke, yes.
But can you see clearly that
more than the 30 something that is being quoted?
Exactly. And the reality is, what did you used to buy for a CD that you can get for a CD now? If the ball of kenke, if they still sell it to you at that same price, they will sell it and you collect the ball of kenke, you can close your hand and you see it because it's not there.
But comrade, let me slow you down. Let me slow you down here. Let me slow you down here with a very simple question so that others might be able to follow us. The government says they are going to IMF to bring dollars into the system, and that is one aspect that will cushion the fundamentals. What is your opinion? The vice president said, when your fundamentals are weak, exchange rate will expose you. He said that yesterday, and it was right, and still today, but they have managed it better. The ordinary person on the street will realize that the impact of their mismanagement is actually felt in their pockets. Will the going to IMF to bring more dollars into the system help us out of this ditch?
If it will, that will be short-lived. To address the vice president, you know, there's this funny thing when we're kids, when you go and play football and you win, and you are coming home, you singing, Muni Munchi, silver cup, Muni Munchi, silver cup. Now, when you lose and you are coming home and they ask you, what's the score? There are three options. Either you not say anything and you walk past, or you say, they say we lost.
We lost.
They say we lost. That's the game the vice president is playing. He is not being candid. If you diagnosed, all things being equal, that if the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you. That should be a timeless principle. Whatever permutations or correlations you run, that gave you that conclusion. That should work in all instances. So suddenly, if your exchange rate is dancing palugu, how can you say that the fundamentals are strong? It's difficult to justify it. Everybody knows the principle of exchange rate, as we just went through. When you overborrow and you mess up the economy, because in reality, if you borrow and you use it quite well, you actually get productive impact on your city. If we were borrowing to improve on the productive export capacity of our country, it means we will be exporting more based on that borrowing, which means we'll make more money, which means our city will go up relative to it. Here we are with one factory. We don't even know how many factories have been built. There are painting factories all around. The other day, one of my school friends who owns a poultry processing plant in Zebila, neat poultry products.
Yeah.
The next thing he knew, communicators in the Upper East were saying that that's one risk, one factory. This man started his business before Nanado even tasted power. But that is part of the scam there. Now to this IMF thing. The reality of the case, you notice that Goldman Sachs said a couple of weeks ago that the government doesn't seem to be in a hurry for it. One of the reasons is because Oforiatta's bank won't make any money from it. And he has always been opposed to going. So as we speak, and this is the irony of it, they announced they were going to World Bank, but they didn't have a plan. The IMF, they didn't have the plan. And that is ironic because, you see, when the IMF comes, contrary to the popular misgivings and misbelief that pertains in our part of the world on the IMF, they don't tell you what to do. When you come to them and say, we need money, what they'll tell you is, what is your problem? And how do you propose to solve that problem for who the cost is what you want? So if you go and say, I want 3 billion, they say, okay, we have heard you. Let's first look at your situation to see whether you need a 3 billion or not. After that, the question is, what do you want to use that 3 billion to do so that it will solve your problem? So if you say, I've got a headache, I need 3 billion, and they ask you, so how are you going to cure the headache? So I'll go and buy paracetamol. And what's the price of the paracetamol? Oh, it's 3 billion. They'll give you the money. If you don't come to them with a plan, they won't write a plan for you. We went to IMF, we had no plan. Remember President Mahama, when we were in dire straits, not out of any induced stuff, but because of global commodity shocks and so many other factors, we had a Senchi consensus. We came up with a homegrown plan. The IMF endorsed it. It was working. In fact, the bulk of the money from that $900 million was spent by these guys. The plan was working until these guys realized that as long as that IMF plan was in place, they will not be able to go and borrow recklessly and chop KK with it. So prematurely exited it. They went to the IMF and said, you know, this homework I'm supposed to bring for you to mark. Can I say you can give me no score because I don't want to turn in my homework? And this goes back to what I said. The IMF will say, give us your plan.
Yeah.
Once you give us your plan, they will give you the money to fix it. But as you fix, you get the money as the fix happens. So if the money is to be paid in 3 chunks, they'll divide your plan into 3. If you do 1/3, you get your 1/3. You do 2/3, you get your 2/3. You do the full, you get the full. They exempted themselves, went back to borrowing, and we are where we are. As we speak now, they don't even have a plan. So we don't even know when the money will come from the IMF. And the irony of it is that it takes on average about 6 months for the IMF to go through your plan with you, agree on what you are going to do, sign it off before they release the money. We haven't even got a plan. So the question is, are we actually interested in the IMF, or are we waiting for some manna from heaven to come and rescue us? It sounds like the latter is our option. In fact, the irony of it is that initially the IMF wasn't in support of us borrowing more of this Afro-Exim Bank money because it would have worsened our case. When they came and looked at our debt that we were arguing on whether it is 73 or 75, they looked at us and said, your situation is 85. In fact, it cannot wait for us, so go and collect that money because you are already dead. It's only that your breath is still here. So the reality is that by the time these guys to get their act together, sit down and write a plan for the IMF money to land, it may have been too late. In fact, as we speak now, it's almost a bit too late. We are expecting cocoa loan of what, 1.3 billion. We're expecting 750 million, part of which did not arrive. Add the two together, and look at the commitments we have over the next month. In September, we have to start. We're supposed to roll over about 7 billion of our debt. But we couldn't go to market because the market threw us out last year. If you remember, last year, October.
Yeah.
We went to market thinking we were wise to go and tell them we want a bond for a green bond. They saw through us. They didn't give us the money. And Gabriel Chedako was saying that it's because of some Georges anti-gay.
Yes, anti-LGBT.
You know, so we were supposed to roll over some of that debt. We haven't been. We are heading for full default. This 750 will make no difference to our account. In any case, how long will it last? Bank of Ghana literally finished all our dollar reserves on trying to prop the city. The problem is we need to go back to fundamentals and fix the problem why the city is suffering. And that's the high debt. If we can start a very smart, what you call fiscal consolidation plan, basically cutting down on our budget, the unnecessary stuff that we spend, then that means we can free some money from there to be able to service some of this debt without having to borrow more. Because when we borrow this Afro-Exim Bank, 750 million, it is added to our debt now.
Our debt, yeah.
You get for 3 billion, yeah. You go for 3 billion IMF, it will add to your debt. So you are borrowing from Peter to pay Paul's debt. Where will you get money to pay Peter's debt then? That's John. Before you realize you have finished all the 12 disciples and none of them will lend you money anymore. So the reality is, we were expecting Oforiatta to have come with a decent fiscal consolidation plan during the mid-year budget, where he would have come and then told us how he's going to arrest the city by basically cutting down on wasteful expenditure. That hasn't happened. The 30% cut they said they'll cut from appointees, we haven't seen it. If anything, what is now happening is that part of our $750 million miracle money cannot be accounted for. To be specific, $37 million of that 750 million has passed somewhere. You and I can guess where this money is gone if we try to trace it. So I'm not confident. It will come. It will potentially give a little bit of respite, but it is not the money itself that will give the respite. It is the program, because the one thing the IMF does well is they will force you to be physically disciplined. They will tell you what you cannot do. That is why they will come and tell you, you want to expand NABCO. You don't even have money to pay the NABCO people. You want to expand, freeze employment. You want to go on this frivolous expenditure. You can't do it, freeze it. But they never tell you not to embark on capital expenditure. And that's why, even though we were under an IMF program from 2015, President Mahama carried on building hospitals, building schools, and so on and so forth. What they will not permit is the use of IMF money for kinky parties. And that's what Oforiatta doesn't want. So honestly speaking, we are at risk. I don't know whether they want us. We're already on the ICU. I don't know whether we want to see Ghana much before they will now agree for IMF to come in or not. But it's questionable on whether that money will come today, because the guys don't even have a plan for what they want to spend the money on, and whether when it comes, it won't be too little, too late.
That's wonderful. Let me drift you off this, and then we look at another aspect which this government has done. I don't know whether it is a prudent measure that they have taken. The issue of collateralization. Almost all our statutory, what do I say, funds have been collateralized. You take Get Fund, it's gone. The ESLA bond that they insulted the previous government, the NDC, about it, is gone. It's collateralized. Is it a prudent measure?
So, in theory, collateralization itself is not a bad idea. All it is as almost, let's think about it this way. I know that producer owes me 10 CD, 100 CDs, and will be paying me 10 CD a month for the next 10 months. But I have got some really good business opportunity, some NAM1 opportunity that will double my money. I'm not saying go and do NAM1. So I need 100 CD today to go and put in, because it will double. Very safe money. So I come to you and I say, I need 100 CD from you. In return, I have this asset, a debtor. Producer is my asset, because producer is in my books as debtor. He owes me 100 CD. He'll be paying me 10 CD, 10 CD, 10 CD till for the next 10 months. So you give me the 100 CD today, and in return, you collect the money from producer. Now, it means that you are guaranteed You'll be collecting 10 CD every month from now on for the next 10 months. You are guaranteed no problem. I take that money, I go and put it in my money doubling scheme. In 2 months, I double my money. By 10 months, money is gone up by times 10. So I end up with 1,000 CDs because of that collateralization. That is a prudent way of doing it. Now, the other way of doing it, which is not the way you should do it, is I come to you and then I say, give me that 100 CDs. I want to go and eat kenke and chinam with my girlfriend. So 1 hour after collecting the money, I have finished it. Now I no longer have that CD. That 10 CD from producer is now yours. My future is finished because I chopped it all today.
Yeah.
That is exactly what we have been doing. So the principle of collateralization in itself is not a bad principle. It's basically taking a stream of cash flows, a stream of expected money coming, that you sell it to somebody for money today. To say, give me money, I want to invest in my business, I want to do this today. But then you can collect the other one. But the whole idea is that whatever I'm doing with the money I collect today should be profitable so that I am stable. But if I go and collect it, we don't know where the Get Fund proceeds are going. We don't know where the ESLA bond proceeds are going. Meanwhile, we have to pay that debt. So now, anytime money enters the Get Fund, portion of it is going straight to pay debt. Anytime money enters the ESLA fund, straight, we no longer own that money. Now, this is the trick. Back in those good days, if we hadn't collateralized Get Fund, we hadn't collateralized ESLA, we hadn't collateralized a chunk of road fund and many other stuff, these would still have been available resources that could have helped us to, cushion ourselves against the adverse, the very terrible state we are in now, because we are not getting money. So imagine that this 750 billion we have gone to. Assume that Get Fund had some 100 billion, some say 10 billion in there or 100 billion there. Road Fund also had 50 billion. And say ESLA had maybe another 100. That's 250. So instead of going for 750, we would have gone for 500 because we already have our savings through that. But because we have finished that one too, we were completely naked, nothing. So you see why it's not a good thing, because these funds in the first place were set up with specific reasons. We are no longer using for that because we have already sold the funds out. Now we owe that money we need to pay. And at the same time, we don't have any incoming streams to replace them.
That is a great explanation and education for a lot of us. Conrad, just take a bit of water, then I get to the views of our viewers that has been expressed here, and I'm pretty sure there are other questions that will come up. Today we cannot finish with you. We'll definitely have to take you on again on a lot of things, especially the issue of IMF. Adlin says, Alidin says Rastaman. Oh, okay. Kwame Richmond. Oh, all the way from Düsseldorf. Alapato is big liar. Wonderful. More fire. Nanette from once again, we are grateful that you've joined us. Wow. I like the intro of the guest. He is very good and knowledgeable, watching you from totally northern region. This is the kind of people we want to hear on our television. We will definitely bring them more so that they break everything down to the understanding of every layman who watches us. Alanda says, great work. Patience Darko, always. We are privileged that you join us every week, watching us live from Hamburg, Germany. Alanda said, watching from Frankfurt am Main. Oh, Frankfurt, that's great. Who are the others? Patience once again. The intro alone with me. That is terrible. Kuku Ade, hey, this your guest is on fire, pal. Watching from Amsterdam, Holland. Once again, we're grateful to you, boss, for joining us. Author Superior, please ask Chairman Damba, where is he? Okay. Why is he not doing more communication for the party? He is very, very good. Watching you from Barcelona, Spain. The man is good. Damba will always be on the show for you. We will definitely get him locked up and you hear more from him. He's a firebrand. I can trust you. I can let you trust all that. Nana says, watching on YouTube from Warsaw, Poland. I'm really enjoying the program. We're grateful that you are enjoying it. Always be part of our program. Audu Van Bell says, well done, Chairman Conrad. We have Grace. Oh, Mama Grace. It's a good submission, Chairman Conrad. Conrad, powerful submission, no mistake about that. And Felicia says, God have mercy on us. Felicia, I'm wondering whether God will have mercy on us. Even our president now says that he's looking up to God to salvage our economy. But let's keep praying. We always have hope and faith in God all the time. Rose, good evening. We are very grateful you have joined us today. And Ebenezer Hayford says, Conrad Damba, solid education, my brother. Let's talk after the interview. Okay, Conrad Hayford says you should get in touch with him after the interview. Unfortunately, our time is right now, but we have a lot, and we need Conrad to help us that we will know where we are going and where we are and what his party, the NDC, will do differently when they come to power to salvage and rescue Ghana at this material moment. Hayford once again, Conrad Damba as a VP for financial reporting. VP for financial reporting, you do have all the knowledge and wisdom for Ghana financial mismanagement. These guys need people like you to salvage the city and run the economy. Unfortunately, these guys do not have the listening ear. That is the problem. You know, the difference between the MPP and the NDC is very clear. NDC went to the Sanchi conference and invited everybody to make a contribution to the well-being of the economy. Even during that conference, Osafo Mafu was invited as a guest speaker. He prepared and he was prevented. The current government doesn't want to listen. The issue on the ground is that the NDC has been criticizing and giving solutions, yet they do not want to listen to those solutions. But we hope that the Ghanaian who is suffering the impact of this mismanagement will come up again and give the opportunity probably to the NDC as the most viable alternative government in waiting to salvage the country for us. So, Comrade Damba, I'll welcome you again. And then let's see.
Akufo-Addo ba obedada Ghana for Onyankopon empengu. Membasa meba bedada Ghana for da. Yenye here for Ghana. Yenye here for Ghana sise di ohiasa. Isi abone na amala banisa. Ya desi se pa ba sika wo memu. Ye ba be tu se sika no. E ma apitu apete aboye.
That's His Excellency the President there for us. I want us to look at just one aspect because of time, but we will definitely have to bring Comrade Conrad on the show. The issue of the economy is very dear to the heart of everybody in the country. And I think the opportunity that we have, we need to use it to explain to the understanding of the lay person walking on the street. There are a lot of us in the diaspora who do not really feel the impact, but they know that there is something going wrong in the country as a result of the transfers or the remittances that they send home. They have the impact. But I want us to look at it, Conrad Damba, the issue of this downgrading. We have fair downgrading Ghana from B- to CCC, and I understand that when we get to D, we are just dead. It means that we are dead, distressed, and we cannot even pay. And now there is another downgrade of even Ghanaian banks. So the entire government has been downgraded. Now they have selected our financial institutions and downgraded them as well. What is the impact of this downgrade on the entire country or the economy of the country?
So it's as Obama's pastor once famously said, the chicken are now coming home to roost. So when they downgrade, most of us would have said, oh, it's just a buying. What difference will it make to us? Now, banks that we all walk into, GTB, EcoBank, banks we walk into and do business, UBA, they've also suffered a downgrade. These are banks that previously have been able to, if you like, also borrow. Because bear in mind, banks borrow as well for the purposes of what? Lending to us. So there are two ways banks can lend money to you. You know, set up your bank, visitors put money in your bank, then you are able to plow that back in and lend to people. But sometimes you need to go and issue bonds, corporate bonds, to be able to what? Get money for large-scale borrowing. These banks have been downgraded. The main reason they have been downgraded is because of the environment in which they are operating. And part of it is their exposure to government of Ghana. Well, fortunately and unfortunately for most of them, their situation is not like mortuary case. But those of them, those two banks in Ghana, if you download the downgrade properly, it tells you that the only reason they haven't been rated to junk is because their parent companies in Togo, in the case of EcoBank, or in Nigeria, in the case of UBA and GTB, can potentially bail them out. Although that is also limited, because in the case of EcoBank Ghana is one of the largest and most bank of the EcoBank group. In fact, it constitutes about 11% of EcoBank West Africa, so the entire EcoBank group, whether West Africa or entire Africa. Ghana alone contributes about 11% of its operating assets. But the problem is that because Ghana is quite large in the group, that means that the group itself won't be able to help the country-based EcoBank Ghana as much as they would. So that explains why they have been downgraded in terms of their outlook, in terms of their ability to what? To also be able to what? Float bonds to be able to operate. So they've literally, their have been clipped. Now, when government is stuck and cannot borrow, be able to execute projects, you would have expected that the banks will pick up the slack. If you remember back in our days, the good old days, it used to be Ndum Bank that used to pre-finance a lot of contractors. Now think about it this way: if EcoBank does slack, now EcoBank's wings have been. So the ability of EcoBank to go borrow from the market to be able to lend to the next contractor building the, if you like, Accra Kumasi Road or Tema Flower Road expansion is literally what? Thrown out of. So it's almost like because the banks are our country, the operating environment is no more favorable. Banks will begin to reduce their exposure. In fact, the good thing about those three banks is that they deliberately sold off their government holdings a long while ago when they saw this coming. Because if you are holding on to government bonds at this point, you are doing Allah and praying that rain will always fall. Because any day now, government of Ghana will say we can pay. And they will start what you call taking a head cut. So we can pay you the 100 CD. For every 100 CD we owe you, we can pay you 100 CD. We can only pay you 50. Take it or leave it. So that exposure, most of them have already sold off their holdings on that and tried to, but that regardless, the banks are in this situation, not because of anything they've done, but because government has destroyed the economic environment. Government has destroyed the economic environment and they are sitting in there. They have international exposure. In fact, EcoBank has stopped asking to be rated anymore. So this rating is the last we'll see, because the next one that would have come, it would have been good news for them. Because they were also brought down to the negative CCC that Ghana is in. So if Ghana goes to D, they will also follow to D. So at the end of the day, when those of us out here, you know what your credit rating can do for you. If you have a good credit rating, you can get good interest on any credit product you want. If you have a Sanquas credit rating, in fact, sometimes mobile phone contract you will not get. That is the kind of Sanquas credit rating Ghana has obtained because of these people who were not managing the economy, but just sucking the blood out of it. Now that has affected EcoBank, it has affected UBA, it has affected customers of those banks. Will suddenly find that banks will potentially start calling in loans to be able to stabilize themselves. I guess the only good thing for them, if you look at one of the analysis, treasury bills now are at about 27%, and inflation is about 32%. So the hope is that the difference of about 5% is not as bad as when previously, if you know, for a long time now, Uforiata had deliberately been keeping bills below the rate they should be at because of market rate.
Yeah.
Because your interest should be basically inflation plus a certain risk premium or profit. So if inflation is 32 and your treasury bill is 27, you are losing 5%, the difference between it. Ordinarily, your interest rate should be a little bit higher than your inflation for your investment to be worth its worth. At least the fact that the last MPC meeting, Monetary Policy Committee meeting, the Bank of Ghana finally saw the light and increased it by about 300 basis points. That has taken our treasury bills now to about 27% roughly. At least it's 5% away from 32%. A couple of weeks ago, we were even at on 19% when inflation was 27%. Yeah, and people will start withdrawing their monies. So it's about the question, what is their style of governance? None. They have none. Everything is in free fall. Now it is everybody for himself, God for us all.
Wonderful. Everyone for himself and God for us all. I think, Comrade Damba, we will definitely need to have you maybe once in every month. They will look at the economic trend of the country and then see where we are going and where we are. Because you mentioned about the fiscal policy implementation as against the monetary policy. I'm sure a lot of us don't even know the difference, and because every now and then the Bank of Ghana, what means they have increased it by these base points and the rest. The ordinary person needs to understand what this is all about and how it affects him. And I'm sure we'll look for an opportunity to have you again on this show. And on behalf of my producer and all the comrades from Germany, UK, and Ireland chapter, all over the diaspora, we wish you a very happy birthday. Yesterday, you celebrated your birthday. We are very privileged to be part of it today. And then we're praying that the good Lord will continue to shower more knowledge and blessings on you in the many more days to come. Thank you very much for being part of the show.
Thank you very much, my brother. And thank you to you, the cherished listeners and the producer. We should definitely have more of these conversations, have these discussions among ourselves to prepare for the inevitable change of government in 2024. But thank you for hosting me this evening.
It's a privilege. And to our viewers up there, we are very grateful that you have joined us for today's program once again. And do make a date with us come Monday next week at the same time, where I will be here with you to share my views and you share your views. And again, we have a host to share.
Ya kana se wantia ejao ehenya beto mampam oso ontie so dogo binwa bem mampam oso ontie nani amuka nyina guna swati move swara mampam oso ontie move swara Mampam, also until once upon a time, animal called Mampam. Any king where them go bring them. Mampam said that king know the force. Iga was a king. Mampam said he know the force. Elephant come. Mampam, some better than you. The peaceful creature panda. Mampam said I want to know the first. Lion became a king. Mampam said I want be the worst ever. Monsomeria. Mampam